Right, I think we are live. Welcome everybody to the node.js security meeting, the first one of August 2024. Before start, does anybody have any announcement? Nope. Okay, so as usual, we go to vulnerability review, open SSF scorecard, and then the regular agenda.
Yeah, I don't think I remember anything new on the vulnerability
No.
review. Yeah, there's nothing new there. So
Yep. For open SSF scorecard.
Yeah, there is an issue with the GitHub actions that they hit some kind of weird limit on the HTTP request. It's happening in many repos right now. So I will rerun it after the meeting because right now it cannot generate a pull request.
Okay. Then we have the threat model, but before that, I think uh, since it's a deep dive, let's
Yeah.
talk about the other two, which is audit build for dependencies. I think Michael did progress on that.
well, sort of related. I did look at the Indici build scripts and I have a PR to actually build the WASM as part of the node updater and add a few more files. Like I think my goal on that front was to make sure we can rebuild from what's in the Node.js dependencies. So for example, we could check out Node and we could actually like rebuild the WASM from there. And I discovered there was a few things missing from that. And that's what the PR fix is. And then the next step would be to get back and look at like how we build the WASM because currently it uses a container that's built on the fly. And I think we should like build a container and store it, which would then mean the next time we could clone Node, we could rebuild it from there using the same container and get the same thing. So
So previously, actually, currently, we are building the WASM. Actually, we are not building the WASM. We are just copying the binary from Unity repository, right?
it's kind of half and half. Like there's some stuff that comes, we run the step where we build, I think, the JavaScript wrapper, but the WASM itself, no, yeah, you're right. We just copy from what's in the Indici repo.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so now nothing will change, but at least we'll have a way to build the WASM ourselves. So it's a intermediary step for reproducible builds, I assume. I mean, there are a lot
Yeah,
of
like if you want like for example, if we wanted to rebuild, like change the code in the depths versus doing a full Indici update, it would be a step in that direction. And
yeah, we can change the depths, build, and check directly on Node.js.
exactly. Whereas before it would like we didn't have everything we needed to rebuild. We'd have to go back and find an Indici version that matched and find the so I think it's kind of like we'd want to be able to like you said, it's related to repeatable. It'd be like
Uh,
it gets us a step closer to having everything where you can just say like, okay, I checked out a node version, I can rebuild the exact same thing. So yeah.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, right. Um, Okay, next one is the automate secret release process. So yesterday, I guess, we have we have released two pull requests, actually three. Um, One is to update the security release process on Node.js repository. So now we are pointing security release steward to the automated process. So they will use commands that we have created in the past months. Actually, in the last 3 months, I guess. Then we have also updated the security release repository to include some specific changes. And for Node Corduceus, we have updated the template to use the new one. So we have three pull requests that addresses that migration from the old workflow to the new one. Um Meanwhile, I will be working on git node security dash dash finish, which aims to close reports, close issues, pull requests, and things like that. It's like a cleanup. If you look to the security release process, you see that there is a part of cleanup. So I'm working on that. I'm automating that part. And that's it. Okay. Next one is the threat model. So let me jump on that and try to recap where we stopped. Okay, so looks like we have the table, but we haven't filled it completely, right?
Yeah, the last couple times we've been working on filling it in, extending it, that kind of stuff,
Okay.
and figuring out what the shape of it looks like.
Let me try to remember my account. Okay, found it. So what do you think? We should go and fill the whole table, or we can move it on to different
I think
uh
continuing to fill it out is good because like as we've tried to do that, we've figured out like, oh, well, we need to like add something else or do something a little different. And so probably continuing to just trying to fill it out together and see where we get stuck or not is a good way to go.
okay. So we can go to the line of secrets for access per group. So looking to
Yeah,
the
how far did we get? We got, yeah, I think you're right. Like secrets is a good one to go back to.
it's missing the permission for secret triagers. I think they don't have, right? Is it a private repo?
It is a
Yeah.
private repo. It's in Node.js, like Node.js private. Uh,
So I believe that security triagers won't have access to this. Let me check.
yeah.
No, only the build team.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. The different members of the build team. Now, I think maybe that's where we were like, do we need the different levels of the build team? Because there's like, there's infrastructure, there's tests, there's so that's where kind of we were discussing. So is
Okay.
that like, because I see do we have a build in the top? Yeah, build members. I don't know why we said none in secrets though. Maybe it's just we haven't.
Uh, yeah, maybe I have filled it
Yeah,
incorrectly.
just to cut and paste.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think like so the question we I think we were starting to get into here and there was some different suggestions was that like we look at build there's like build workgroup members, infra admins, Jenkins admins, release Jenkins admins, and GitHub bot admins, right? And those all have different levels of access. So they're going to have different levels of access to things. So it was like, do we need a section on the top for each of those?
I
Or
think
do we fill in like, build team members and then we put the level of access in the tape?
I think this falls in the same behavior of Node.js releasers. In the past, we had Node.js LTS and Node.js releasers, Node.js backporters and things like that. But now all the releasers do the same, so there is no distinction, so no need to split in different groups. And I assume that's the same for building, right?
No,
No?
like the build team, like we definitely have, so test build team members have access to just the test machines. And then like the people in the infra have access to everything. Like that's the most sensitive one is basically like, the website and things like that.
Okay.
And Jenkins. So there's definitely a different levels, and it's intentional that says like as it gets more important, we reduce down the people who actually have access to the different things.
Okay. So I think that makes sense to have a separate column for that.
So yeah, so we have like just regular build members, and then we have like infra admins, Jenkins admins, release admins. We could we could potentially like
We,
group,
we yeah, that's my thought. We could uh
like
we could
maybe we just say build work group members and admins, just to simplify things. Like that'll actually mean that like we're
Yeah.
over cautious because we would say like, hey, a bigger group of things have bigger group of people have access to things. However, if
uh
that shows up as a problem, we could then go back and sort of narrow it down.
Yeah. Also, most of the admins are admins on all the subgroups kind of thing, right? To become admin of the Jenkins and then of the rest of the thing kind of thing. I mean, it's maybe there are cases where someone is not a Jenkins admin technically, but can have access via SSH and stuff like that. So I think members and admins are a good subgroups kind of thing with an asterisk if needed explaining details. But yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise we will have like 100 of of columns.
Yeah,
So
the
yeah,
main difference would be like the GitHub bot admins are much smaller set, but
yeah,
I totally agree, Ulysses, that like I think for the purposes of what we're doing, starting out with just like regular build members and admin build members, like,
yeah,
and then if something pops up as like, hey, this is too big a risk, we could say, oh, well, actually, we have narrowed that down some more. So, right,
yeah.
it's not as, but yeah, so okay, so why don't we do that and say like we could have one column for regular build members and then one for admin build members.
Yeah.
I've been wondering, since the columns is like increasing and tends to increase exponentially, we could we could test, or we could try to use the same approach is used on Unix. Like, are you looking to the table?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so imagine that we have the build, and then we have um, test admin, or test infra admin. And then
Mhm.
the comment
Okay.
or the result is basically what is used on that. So in that case, let me find the correct one. Instead of known or instead of all, let me try to find my
Yeah,
code.
you can
Right.
use
It could
numbers,
be,
right?
yeah.
Like
We can
700
use
and
like,
one.
you know, read, write, and
Yeah.
none, or the inverse, like,
Yeah, we could definitely do the
Yep.
question would be when we want to combine, like we're
the
going to want to
super
combine these tables, does that make it impossible? Or is that something that we can still do?
to combine. Um,
Because I think what we talked about is we want to join, like, so we'll basically have these access per groups, right?
right.
And then
Yep.
we'll have the threat, and we're going to want to say, like, okay, for a given user, for external people, and the threats, like, what's the join of that? Now, I don't think it necessarily means we can't. It just means that it might be
Yeah,
a little more work, right?
it might be just I think it would be the same work, to be honest, as having more columns, for instance.
Yeah, one we might be able to use like an existing, like just put them in a database and do a join. I think the other we might need a tool that like basically parses it and expands it into multiple columns, which I think Like for
flexible.
visibility, I think I agree that trying to put them together makes sense because otherwise we end up with a lot of,
Yeah,
it's
it
going to
would be
be
very
hard to look
hard to
at.
read.
So yeah, let's try. I'm up for trying that. Like, keep the column, and then we just gonna need to keep in mind, like, can we make sure we format it so that you will have a tool could translate it into multiple columns if needed.
Okay. So, so which columns do you think we can merge? For instance, build, I have included test, infra, and admin. That's the
Yeah.
correct one?
Yeah, and then there we probably want to put like, so in security release, we want to
Yeah.
put like either all or list them like test infra and admin. I don't know which works best.
Sorry?
Well, like in the actual, like in that box, are we going to put all, let me edit it. Back. Like, I think we have, and this is where it gets, I think like, we could either have all, no, sorry, I just messed up the wrong one. We can either put like, I see what you're saying, like, yes, so we would be like TIA, right? Because they all have access to that.
What is that? Sorry.
Well, like you said, there's test infra and admin.
Yes. So
So they all like, I see you were saying like they all like, right. You would put like,
I would put like, yes, right, and right. Correct.
right. Okay.
Yep.
So we can just remove this thing and put pretty much what is on Unix, and it's easier to parse.
Right.
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that
Yep.
that there is a parser for those provisions available like in a npm package because people
Right.
just
Okay. And then we
Yeah.
would parse out and say like, yeah, we could convert that to multiple different columns later on. Okay. Yeah. No,
I'm
that's,
I'm thinking, Michael, that maybe the test level doesn't grant you access to the release level because the different CI environment, right? So I think it might be, and also different folders and stuff.
oh,
So
sorry.
maybe
For
it's just a
security,
read one.
no. Did I make, maybe we have the wrong
Yeah.
column there.
So it's going to be
Yeah.
like none for testing and the rest is right.
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. Yes.
And
That's right.
which
Yeah, I was
column
thinking the secrets one, which would be, am I going to get the right column? This would be, so this one would be right.
which one?
Yeah. For the secret is 3Ws because it's segmented inside. So,
No,
but
I
yeah, it's
got it in the
3Ws.
wrong, got it in the
Yeah.
wrong column. This is definitely hard to,
It's because the amount of columns. I think
Yep.
once we reduce, for instance, we have the triagers, we have security steward and security triagers. They all
Yeah.
can be in the same
Mhm.
column, right? No, triagers does not belong to the same group. But I believe that we can call it as a security and then security stewards, triagers, and security release or security external. That's
right.
better. So I will rename security to mention stewards, triagers, and external.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good.
Yeah.
And then I broke all the tables.
Yeah, we might have to go back and tweak them, but
no.
like, I guess the other one would be like, we kind of have, yeah, it's interesting because like then releasers, TSC, like they're sort of people. You could almost take this to the full extent and say like, well, we're gonna have like people and then other things, right? But that then would end up with a one big long www whatever, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. That might be
It's
a bit
for the
much.
ones that has different actions.
Yeah.
Maybe we can merge like GitHub Actions with GitHub plugins.
Yes.
GitHub Actions, plugins, and then I just remove this thing. Yep.
I do wonder though, like even if some of them like we have some more like TSC members, releasers, and even
Mhm.
like security stewards, triagers, those are almost like privileged user, like more privileged users, right?
I think for the TSC specific, we can split in two groups, voting member and regular members.
Yeah, although voting regular members basically don't have anything more than a regular collaborator.
Uh, they might have access to the security, to the Node.js private.
I don't think so. I think they should be there. It's basically they're basically just on the list. And they're
Okay.
the only real difference is they're on the invite for the email, like on the invite for the TSC meeting.
Okay. So
Yep.
I just renamed to TSC voting.
I thought we just had, yeah, TSC voting,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, also in terms of privileges groups, the moderation team also has access to GitHub as owners as well, just to keep that in the loop. So
Yeah,
that
I'm just wondering,
might,
like other ones, like is there a privileged users, and then we can combine all those together? Because it does, I think this way, if we could get this down to like 3 or 4 columns, even with the www whatever, it may be much easier to edit, right?
yep.
Um, because we have like contributors.
We have contributors, which is split into core,
Yeah,
work groups, and triagers, right?
right. So maybe those we can combine together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
even we can include moderation as well there. So we can,
The
contributor.
moderation, though, I might put in with the like TSC members because they've got quite a bit of access.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good option.
Triagers and working group. So it means that we can drop this one. We can drop this one, and moderation is a separate one. I agree. Yeah, I think that's it. Does that make sense?
It's
So now
much
we
clear.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, we have just a few columns. It's way easier.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you have a few extra bars in the top line. I can
Yeah,
just give it two
if I
bars.
drop them, it will
Yeah,
break. Let me fix that.
yeah, I see you. Right. Okay. So now we got to go back and
Yeah.
but we can test it out. It may actually work to be much easier.
Yeah. Do we want to include releases in the core triage working group? I know
No,
it's
because
separated, but
yeah, no, because they have really different permissions.
yeah.
That's why I'm
True.
wondering, like like we have TSC releasers moderation, maybe like would those be
I
similar?
think I
Similar,
think
like higher, more privileged people, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think they are completely different because when we will talk about like one password or Mitri or something like that, we can't like really put a W or dash or something like that, right? It's
Well,
not
we can, yeah, I think either like a dash is you don't have access and right
Yeah.
is you have access, right? I guess there is the admin level access too, but I guess that's kind of like, that's right.
Yeah,
Like,
like non-read,
Hmm.
like non-adult, read, write, and admin, right? So 4 levels.
yeah, maybe
And
we need that admin level, you're right, where it's like an
yeah,
A.
it's an A, yeah.
Feel free to edit.
Yeah, because we have external, I think is good to keep separate. We have contributors. Yeah, I still think, yeah, I have a feeling like, and even like, it might make our life easier just having like TSC voting releasers and then the security stewards, triages, and external all together, right? Because we're going to shrink down the number of columns significantly. So it'd be something like up here, it'd be like TSC releasers, and then
Moderation.
yeah, moderate, but actually even like moderation, security.
I think moderation more than three will make things
Yeah,
less.
maybe,
So,
okay. What are we down to? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That starts to fit more on a page at least. Still doesn't quite fit, but
hmm.
I think we'd want to change these to like, this is like dash.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 column, so that's good.
Node.js private. This is do releasers have access to Node private?
Sorry?
Do releasers have access to Node private?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, currently yes.
Okay. Right. Security stewards obviously do. I don't know about triagers.
No.
No.
Okay, so. And then GitHub Actions plugin, it's like. It's too bad those dashes are not always. Hate it when it combines them for you. And then security release. What was security release again? That's the repo, the security release repo.
Uh, Secret release. Yes. No. Yeah. The secret release repo. Sorry. Yeah, that's it. Because all the information about release is there.
Right. Now, node private, right, okay, because not everybody has access. So node private. Okay, so security release. So this one is where that's obviously dash. Let's do special dash. So build doesn't necessarily have access to those. Well, I think admins, maybe not, no.
No, not even admins. No.
Okay. So then the TSC releasers, not sure about moderation. Do they have does moderations have access?
Moderation doesn't have access, I think, to the secret organization as owners or something. I
Yeah, I
think
was just
they.
looking at security release.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, now I fixed all the things from the table, so it's way easier to read.
Yeah, we don't need a scroll, so that's cool.
Looking at the looks. I still have to, it's annoying. Like I still need to scroll in the actual table view.
Table view.
Well,
Okay,
like when the edit, like when you're not editing, do you have to scroll?
Yeah. Well, you have
Yeah,
this option to have both things together and you can just move
yeah.
around, but
So I guess I got this one slightly wrong. 2, 3. Like the admins, these are admin, right?
I think security external doesn't have access to security release repository.
But okay, so this is where, so they have access to node private, but not the security release repo.
Yeah,
Because I thought the whole point for external is that like we're bringing external people in to comment on issues but I guess they don't necessarily need access to the security release repo itself.
uh, yes, because on the security release repo we mention which patches will land and the summary for each um, for each patch. So basically, we describe the problem, the error, and the solution.
Right. So, so we might want the external people to be able to access that, right?
And no, we only want external people to the patches, not to
Okay.
the
Okay.
administrative release.
Then that's pretty release. Security stewards, triagers, external. So you're basically saying like the external will have that, right? So external don't have, but triagers and stewards would. I think we were going to avoid having the slashes, were we? Or is that
Just because
be?
if you merge the three dashes, it will combine into two dashes into the view because of Markdown. For
Okay.
instance, look to the contributors. It will show just two.
Then we probably need the slashes though all the time, right?
When you want to combine three, yes.
Well, I'm like this. Like
Combine two, yes.
should we be consistent and just always have?
No, the dashes are escaped if you go to the view. It
I
doesn't.
see. Okay. Right. Okay. Got it.
Possibly for the roles that doesn't have. Okay, no worry.
Okay. Yeah. Just right. Okay. So we don't need them here. So it's only when it's 3 that we need them, or 2.
Sorry.
It's only, we only need only when three of them are together. That we need the backslashes.
Yeah, just for when you want to combine two
Yeah, okay.
dashes. Yeah, just to escape. But yeah, so let me see. We have the node private. Why the node private hippo? There is a one.
Sorry, which one?
Node private.
The one that's that the comment down below. I don't know.
It's just because other repository ending on dash private, but it's because we.
Right, we
Okay.
said that ending in dash private, right? Yeah, okay. All repositories ending in dash private, which doesn't include secrets and some other ones, I think is why we had that. Right, because there's a whole bunch that end in dash private. Yeah, I think that makes sense though. We want that note.
And why?
Like it goes
Uh,
down to the note down below. So it's node private, but not all of node private. Access to the repositories in node private that end in dash private. And then in that, there's also security release and secrets.
okay. And right. And why we have like the G8 on after node.js.org is the GitHub,
Sorry, which one? Where?
node.js.org. Here,
GitHub. Yeah. So is that a GH GitHub?
right? Or just G8.
Yeah, I guess that's the yeah.
Maybe G8 is better. I don't know.
I mean, security releases GitHub. Yeah, they're all secrets. Like it would make sense that then this is also going to be here, right?
Yeah.
See, the nodejs.org is, yeah, okay. The only thing is we do have different groups with have different levels of access to like things within node.js.org.
Okay. So let's move forward. Then we have secrets, which should be, let me fulfill that. It's dash here, and here is dash, dash, dash. And for the build, which groups for the build team has access to the secrets? Is the whole team like
Everybody.
everybody? Okay. So
Yeah.
it's write access.
It's write access, yeah. They're then further encrypted so that like only some people can get access to the particular secrets, but like in terms of
Yep.
the repo itself, everybody has access to them.
And for the moderation, I don't know exactly in which place the moderation team goes because basically they they don't have the same access as like a releaser, right? So I assume that they won't have access to the secrets even
Not
for
at
read.
all. Not even read access, I think.
So
I'm gonna have to
I
go
believe that
look.
the releasers also don't have access, right?
Releaser don't have access to the secrets.
Okay.
Unless they are involved in the build team somehow, but just because you are a releaser, you don't have access to the secrets per se.
And the same applies for security steward, so it's known.
Mm-hmm.
And GitHub Actions plugin, I assume, is the same.
Yeah, I don't think we've given, like, I don't think there's a moderation team.
Yeah, I was confused about that.
Why can't I always find it? Okay, what are the teams? Okay, TSC release triage external. Yeah, so we don't have moderation. Like they're admins on the main repo, but they're not access on
On the private.
the private one. Yeah.
I wonder if we should evaluate the moderation group.
What do you mean evaluate? Like,
I mean, uh, include them to the table.
we do have them. They're under admin.
Yeah, yeah, we do have it, but I wonder if we should have it because it's all about only Node.js repository, but the rest they don't have access to anything.
Uh, but that's okay. Like there'll be different groups that have access to only one thing,
Okay.
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
Like I think if we go to like YouTube, we're basically gonna say that like that one's almost, I mean, that's an interesting one in that like we have a list of people who have access. They don't actually fit into any of these categories.
We
Wow,
forgot
that's true.
the repository.
Now
Oh,
we
no, you have them on the categories, Michael, because in order to get access to YouTube, at least you need to be a member of a working group, right?
right.
So
Yeah,
technically,
like
it's
yeah.
working groups.
Yeah, so it's kind of like we might want to formalize that, but that's a good approximation. Like, hey, you have to be a member of a working group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's that I like that because that's like smaller than it's also smaller and bigger than contributors, but you're right.
Yeah, and
that-
also it's not every member of the working
Yeah.
group, right? Normally it's like kind of the person who is leading the working group or the chair,
Yeah.
this kind of these kind of things, right?
Um, for the Node.js repository, debuting on the task group has write access to the Node.js main repository.
No.
No,
No, it's just read.
no,
Yeah.
it just read, yeah.
And admin is all. Basically, we are not using, okay, we are the A. So for the secrets A here as well. So A, releasers write and moderation has write access, as I assume, right?
Yeah, they're actually org
Yeah.
owners. So there I put
So,
a
Yeah, I'm also thinking that maybe for the building, like the infra and the admin level, still to be like a read on the repository. We don't
okay.
have like superpowers on the
Yeah,
GitHub
exactly.
organization. We have
It's more
superpowers
on
on
the
the
admin
machines and
stuff.
stuff, but not in GitHub at all.
What it does, like but we do have write access to like the build repos, right? So this Node.js, there's kind of like core, but then there's all the repos for each working group.
Yeah.
Like basically the working group members have write access to them. So that's kind of a like another one where it could explode pretty quickly.
Yeah, we can put something like other GitHub repos kind of thing. So that way, yeah, because if we start to make like a sub organization here, we can go crazy, right? Because it's going to be like
Yeah.
who has access to this issue, who has access to that, who has access to I don't know.
But
We
I
can
think
add
we would want
new
to put
repository
like
later.
we would want to put like we I think we need to break those down a little bit because otherwise like everybody has access potentially to like we give write access to all workgroup members to their repo
Yeah,
and
I can.
therefore
I will put a note here on the top if that makes sense
yeah.
for now, just to keep an idea. So yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm almost wondering if we want to do something like this, like for the Node.js one, we want to actually put it as oops, sorry. Like if we added so basically this would be like Node.js node. And then I'm just adding some extra like, and it would be like work groups.
It's hard because each working group has different layers of access. So
Right, but
if
we could as an
we want to
approximation.
be assertive, we need to include like Node.js dash build, Node.js dash security working group, and things like that.
Right, but we could just to try and approximate those all as one, like, okay, the approximation is that if anybody's a member of a working group, they now have access to workgroup repos.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can export like maybe the Excel that we get on the who has access to what matrix kind of thing on GitHub. So we know like if you are part of this working group, you get access to this, that, and so on.
Right,
So
and
that
maybe
can be like an
that's
attach. Or maybe it's going too far, but
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because when we group them together, like the malicious code in the Node.js code base, like most of the working groups don't have, yeah.
yeah,
So
maybe
this one, there
because
might be when we say Node WGS repos, that could just mean to your own repo, right?
yeah, yeah, that's because I mean we are targeting this on how to I mean the final target for this threat model is like try to pollute Node.js binary or somehow, right? So if you get access to, for example, the security working group repository, won't affect that, right? But if you
Right,
might get access to Undici, which is going to be a dependency that somehow we are going to pull in the repo, then
right.
that's different, right? So maybe something like GitHub repos related or something like that. So we remove a lot of scope because otherwise we have like, yeah, probably 200 repositories.
Right. I'm just thinking like workgroup, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be hard to come up with but yeah, I think we're going to have to break that up because you're right. Either we're going to get like, oh, there's way too many people. And you're
Yep.
right that like workgroup repos, there's sort of like admin. There's
Maybe
like,
we should,
I don't know. I'm just trying things like this.
honestly, I think we should include all the repos that are sensitive. For instance, I don't know if including, for instance, security working group is sensitive enough. Like I would include Node.js Undici because it produce a binary or produce code for end users. But for other repositories like build, release, things like does not produce any result to the user.
Right. That's why I said like WG repos admin and then WG repos code.
But why? Which? What are the repos admin? It's just the admin one, but
Well,
it doesn't,
what I meant
right?
is any ones which don't have code in them. So like you said, like the build one doesn't necessarily have. Now, that one's actually a special one because that one actually could have code which will affect the builds. And so, but like say we take the two good examples are the add-on ABI stable node. That's a repo that the add-on team uses just to do like admin type stuff. Like, we have issues that say we should work on this and that. Whereas ABI stable node has actual code in it, right? So I think that's a good categorization, like repos with code or repos without code, right?
But why we want to cover it on a threat model table? Because I mean, even if we mess things up and everybody has right access to that repo, it won't produce anything dangerous for us.
Right, but I think for like if we don't include it, then like it's like you answer like, well, is there a risk related to these?
So
Like,
that's my point. I think we will just spend time on something that is not relevant, not relevant, but not dangerous or critic for the project.
right. But
Because
I guess
if
I
we
worry
include
if we
other
don't,
things,
like, it's good to have it, like, even if it's in a list that says these are the repos we ignored,
yeah,
right? Like
that's
we want to capture it some way, but I see your point that it's sort of like we can,
because
uh,
we need to remember that we need to maintain that table, and
right.
the most repository, the most lines we include, more hard is to
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
track.
no, I agree. So like, so let's put that, boy, I'm having trouble editing here. Okay, well, so yeah, so we could go down here. Let's see, repos which do not include repos under Node.js slash under Node.js which do not include code are not covered as they cannot lead to threat. Right?
Okay.
So that,
And
yeah, that's good. So then, but I guess then I don't think we want to list out all the depths either, right? Like, you know, I think we
my
want to say
only
like node
concern,
core, and then there's other repos, right? Or
yeah, but that will be a bit hard to access because, for instance, the Unity repo, they have their own team and they also produce code for Node.js core. And the same applies for LLHTTP, for instance.
yeah,
So I think we might want to assess that.
right. So, but would we do them all separately? Like, because that could add up to a few, or do we just group them together? I think actually what
Yeah.
could make sense is let's
To that.
just, it's like instead of Node.js node, even should we just have like no, yeah, we could say Node.js depths, or we could say like, let's just include anything that has code together in the same bucket. Node core, all depths.
Mm. My only concern is that if we include everything on the same group, we won't be able to assess it correctly because we need to include the Node.js Unity team and the Node.js uh Unity admin, I guess. Let me see how many groups. I don't think they have, right? Unity.
Yeah, you're right in terms of the admins. That might be so maybe just from the admin perspective, yeah, like we could,
Okay, they don't use groups. All right, they have a team,
yeah.
Node.js Unity, but this group is not like it's just the maintainers. It's pretty much as maintaining a working group or something. It doesn't have access to anything on the organization.
Right.
So
Yeah. Like basically we can give access to like you have access to that one repo,
yeah, it's pretty much as a working group.
but like breaking them all out could be an issue. Whereas I think a reasonable approximation would be like, what if like everybody who was like in one of those, like if you were in the Indici team or you were in the LLHTTP team, assume they had access to all of those repos at the same level. I think when we look at it, we'd probably still say that's not unreasonable. Like if we trust them to have access to one of them,
Mhm.
then we could trust them to have access to them all, and it's pretty much the same, right? Like if you could get
Yeah.
if you could get malicious code into Indici, well, then does it matter that you could get code into LLHTTP
But yeah,
or
yeah.
not? So I think I kind of like the like let's have a depths.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not depths, but it's like
Yeah, I think it's depths because it will follow all the new repositories like Amaro for
yeah.
type. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, or the
And
V8
is it
one.
just depths? I guess it's like depths. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
I think it's a fair definition, saying
Yeah,
depths, even if it can
yeah,
include other things, but yeah, because I think the concept is clear.
right. And I
perfect.
think though we're gonna need to have, to be honest, I think we're gonna need build as a special case as well, now that we think about it.
Yeah, okay.
Because
Yeah.
like it includes scripts that are actually used to build our releases and stuff like that. So if you had access to build, you could land things that would modify the code, basically modify the build steps and therefore modify the end results. But
Yeah, and the same goes also for I think it's more than one repo, but the Node Core utils. Also, if you manage to modify how the CLI works, you manage to modify the behavior of the releases and many other things, right?
right.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because the node core you choose has access to the SSH key, and it can be they can expose the private key and things like that. So I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
So node.js steps. This one probably needs a 2, right?
Yeah.
Oops. And I guess there's a few, what might be interesting is separately is like, we also publish things like we publish Node add-on API and we publish a few different NPMs. Do we need to worry about those, or are those sort of like out of our current scope? Because we're really looking at Node Core versus external things that we publish.
We
I
have the
think
npm account, so I think it makes sense to have like npm repos or packages.
I think for node add-on we could have. I think we can assess them later if
Yeah.
people ask, because it's not.
Yeah, yeah, like it's
Yeah.
because we don't have malicious, we have malicious
I think the
code
same
in the
applies
code
for
base.
node core you
Yeah,
choose. Honestly,
yeah.
Yeah.
we can remove for now.
Yeah, I think actually saying that like we're just looking at Node Core and Node versus anything else we
Yeah.
publish, that is a good simplifying factor, because those ones will actually be quite simple, much simpler, because we'll say like who has access much less things. Yeah, okay, not that.
Right.
So we'll end up with Node, which is like the Node Core. We have depths, we have build. That okay, no, that's good.
Okay. So the build is already
And I
filled.
think in that context, we can remove the PKGS org as well,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't,
It doesn't
like, it
produce
builds
anything
other
specific for
things,
any
but it
user.
doesn't build into Node itself.
Exactly. That's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I think we can remove that. That's good.
Okay.
The NPM account, then that's
The npm account, which package do we produce there? The Umdici, Node core util, Node
Yeah.
add-on API.
well, like that's
Not
if we're gonna say that those are not. Oops, did I remove them somehow? Because I think we
Yeah.
wanted Node Core Util in here. I think I just deleted that by accident.
Yeah. No.
All right.
Why? I think we don't need the Node core utils, to be honest.
Oh, but I think we agreed that that one, like the build one, could cause us to like inject things, right? Like we use it to land things. So if that one was compromised, it
Yeah.
potentially.
Auto extract secrets or stuff like that. Yeah.
I was trying to remove this PKG org one.
Yeah.
But I think we need to have like a pkgjs.org is excluded as it does not include repos that make it into node.js binaries, right?
Okay, that makes sense. So build infra test, build infra release, and build infra. It makes sense to have as a line instead of a column, because we already have it as a line. So I think we summarize it on. Okay, I understand now.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky because we have like 3 different levels. So for example, someone can do malicious things on the test environment, but not necessarily will affect releases, for example. But if someone has access to infra, then you can, for example, change the DNS of the binaries and basically get
I have to go because we're over time, but I think made some pretty good progress here.
Yep.
Okay.